Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to this week's recap video. We have another rainy day outside today, which is just awesome. It's been the most beautiful, 3 weeks. We've had lots of rain. A lot of rain. So, I mean, everything looks refreshed and it makes me even if it pushes me out from doing projects, I don't even care.
Yeah.
I just come down. But the mountains are getting a lot of snow, which will be really helpful to a lot of farmers. So it's just overall a really good thing. I'm super thankful for it. It's still fairly breezy though. We're getting the breeze like we normally do, but at least it's coming with some moisture this time around.
Yeah.
So let's jump into the videos from this past week. First one was planting a pineapple, crabapple, and lilac, and new obelisks for the raised bed. So in that video, I planted a pineapple. They got them in down at the garden center. My dad called me and said, we got 3. If you want one, you should probably run down and grab one. So I did. And then I added a perfect purple. Is that the variety name? Perfect purple. I can never remember that variety. Anyway, it's a beautiful crabapple. I added to the back border where we just planted all those evergreens and birch trees. And then I planted an Old Glory lilac in there as well. And then Gardener Supply sent out some Essex 5-foot square obelisks for the raised beds because I've had, and I got the original ones from them too. They were the more rounded ones, obelisks, and they were a little bit not as stout, not as sturdy as the ones that they sent out, because I like to grow tomatoes and things in them, and we get such high winds that over the years the bottom sections have kind of bent a little bit, and we were holding them together with wires, and they were looking pretty crummy. So anyway, we popped the new ones in there and they look really good. Kind of a little bit of a change up too. The shape, I mean,
square instead of round?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty similar, but I think it looks really good. Ninja Orchid said, how are the chickens handling the disruption around the coop? Do they even care? Maybe less eggs as a result? Just curious. I don't think they care. I think they like it.
Yeah.
They always, whenever anybody walks out around their coop, they come running out. They love to greet you, and they always know that they're going to get treats. We have 4 hens, and we get 4 eggs a day. So no less egg production from all the upheaval, all the trenching that's going on very close to them. Seasons with Anthony said, in the cold frame, how do you clean the soil up that falls on the floor without disrupting or having to replace the stone or small rock floor? It just kind of disappears. Any soil.
As long as you don't drop too much. You know, if you drop a lot, then you'll get kind of a mud pile. But otherwise, yeah, it just kind of filters through the
little bit of water, and it just kind of goes away. But you're right, we did clean dahlias just outside the cold frame or greenhouse. We used the top off of one of our perennial tables, which is just like a 2x4 frame with hardware cloth on the top, so it's it's open. So we would set the dahlia tubers on top and then spray off all the dirt, and there was thick mud underneath that. So you kind of have to scrape some of that up. If you do a job like that, we'll probably do that job elsewhere this next year.
Well, a project like that probably should just put a tarp underneath, and that way the water will flow off, but then the dirt will stay.
I think some of the dirt would probably flow off.
Yeah, you might be right.
You know, I follow a flower farmer in Virginia, Harmony Harvest. They've sent us flowers out before, and they did an experiment this year because they are a zone very close to our zone. They might be like a 7A or a 6B, I guess. And they mulched all of theirs. So they did heavy mulch, and they did tarps and stuff. And I think they reported 90% of them made it.
Wow.
I'm yeah, we should try that.
Yeah.
Because digging dahlias is for the birds. It is such a hard job. If you grow a lot of them, it's a huge project. And I had a couple people working on it, not just myself, and it took us a while. Pete said, idea, what about just removing the outer ring of boxwoods? So talking about the boxwood formation in the back garden, it's large.
A lot of people asked about removing the outer boxwoods.
Which I think would actually wreck the proportions even more. I can't envision that at all.
I can only envision a path going right through the middle.
Of course.
You know what? If you want to keep it though, it's fine. I got what I wanted, which was large trees and evergreens as a hedge in the back. That was my #1 thing. And whatever you do at this point,
See, we compromise. We're pretty good about
Yeah.
And I would be okay removing them, but I have to know every possibility first. I have to see it with the fence removed and the gravel kind of removed from the area right outside it that we are going to incorporate into the garden and make that garden space. Because I feel once that fence is open, it might just look so much bigger and so much more open that it'll look appropriate. A previous experience said, when planting the trees right near your neighbor's basketball court, did you consider how the roots might negatively impact the area, i.e. cause cracks, etc.? On one hand, I would want to hide the area with large trees also. On the other, the court was there first and it seems unneighborly to plant things that may ruin it. You know, I would never plant anything on purpose that would ruin anything of anybody else's. I'm not worried that anything over there will actually do that. We don't have problems with that here. Not really.
No, our roots seem to go down searching for water. We rarely have like a surface root issue.
Like hardly ever even in grass.
Maybe like with... what was there before? Willows, which we actually took out.
Yeah, we took out the problem tree.
Yeah, but not with other stuff.
Honestly, well, and our neighbors love trees too, so that's always helpful. But we took out the scarlet curls, which was all up in their business. Like, you know, we would go over there. We would go over onto their side and prune stuff. But every time a windstorm came through, there would be branches and leaves all over the place. And that one was always just full of spider mites. So I'm sure that they're probably happy that that one's gone. And then the weeping willow was very close. It was close to like the one corner. Anyway,
and if there was an issue, we'd fix it.
Yeah, for sure. Mobina said, can you speak to how you go about envisioning placing trees, bone structure in a garden/yard? I'd like to know how you think about it and plan for it in terms of spacing, functionality, design, and aesthetics. It seems like such a daunting task. I wouldn't know how to go about it if I had a blank slate. You know, it can be daunting. I think one of the most overwhelming, it's overwhelming when there's nothing there because you're like, ooh, I hope I don't go about this wrong or place something in the wrong spot because that'll affect everything else. It's almost kind of freeing when you have something there that you're working around because it's like, well, that was there first. So I'm just going to work around that.
Blame it on somebody else.
Yeah, exactly. But there's also so many choices. There's so many tree choices out there that you think like, am I going to pick the right thing that I'm going to really enjoy?
You know what I would do is try to like Google tree farms or tree yards, you know, nurseries in your area that have like large specimens. So you can kind of get, you know, an idea of what things will become.
Like an arboretum.
Yeah, or an arboretum. Just somewhere in your area where they, you know, sell stuff or have things planted, and then get an idea of what kinds of things you like and what the structure of those things. Because some are deciduous, and so, which is great for shade in the summer, but other things you need a screen. So you're looking for evergreen.
Right. Oh, you know, Aaron and I drive around a lot too, like on our date days, whenever we're able to get out. Like a lot of time we don't even go do anything specific or special. We just get something to drink and we drive neighborhoods and we look at people's gardens. And you can get some really good ideas. Like in the Eagle area, there's really pretty...
just right outside of Boise.
Yeah, right outside of Boise, Idaho, sorry. Yeah. They've got really pretty plantings like around subdivisions. First off, they leave enough space. Like they leave a really wide border around some of the subdivisions, and then the mix that they put in there is just so pleasing because there's all the colors. There's a lot of different textures. There's evergreen and deciduous. So we do a lot of driving around and we've taken pictures too, like, ooh, I particularly like this spot right here. Maybe we can, you know, emulate that somewhere. And if you're not sure what you're looking at, take the picture, take it to your local garden center and they'll be able to tell you.
Or online in like a Facebook group.
Yeah.
You know,
that's true.
Post it. People love to help.
Yeah.
ID things.
Yeah. And, you know, it's a lot for how we do it here. We just kind of stand back and we assess what we want to, like you said, screen, what we want to screen all year long with evergreens and what we want to, you know, mix with that. And then we just try to place things appropriately. We are spacing things like based on their mature size. For the most part, we are going a tiny bit closer in some situations because we want it to be a really tight kind of screen or a hedge. So it just kind of, it depends on what you're going for too. That's kind of a hard question to
Well,
answer.
Everybody's situation is so unique.
Yeah.
You know, but
That's
really
true.
you just have to look at your space and figure out what you need, thinking about shade and screening.
Yeah, also think about your plant budget and knowing that evergreens take a lot longer to grow than a lot of your deciduous. Like personally, I would invest in larger evergreens than I would deciduous things, unless it's like a Persian parotia or something that grows like this much a year, or a tricolor beech or something. And you can ask those questions at somebody at your local garden center as well, and kind of determine which things to invest more in to get bigger specimens and which ones take a lot less time to grow. Jessica said, did you give up a Gator for a golf cart? Well, our second Gator is in the shop at the moment. They actually called this week, so they are currently trying to figure out what's going on with it. It's weird because like we could still use it. It would work on a full charge, and then it would get down to like between half charge and 3/4 charge, and it would just like die. Like it would just. But
it would keep getting slower and slower leading up to that point.
Yeah, and then at about half battery, it would just like be done.
But the batteries were fine. We tested them. Yeah. And they tested them, and they're fine. So it's like some type of like a circuit board that needs to be like a computer inside there that needs to be replaced. Like I'll say though, I would way rather have a Gator over the golf cart. Yeah. Like I would buy the Gator in a second, provided it continues to work. Like if we keep having Gator problems, then maybe not. But if this is just a one-off, I love the Gator so much more. I do too. It's way more practical for what we use it for. However, the golf cart has been handy in a pinch. We do use it. There's usually somebody on it every day. I like the screen or the plexiglass in the front. Yeah, because like Samantha and I will go out in the evening, or Benjamin and I, and or all four of us will go out. You can get those for Gators too. I know. I've showed you pictures. You're just like, oh, I don't like the look of that. I know it looks kind of silly. It does a little bit, which is a stupid reason not to get one. But I like the fact that we can hop on the golf cart and it's dry because it's covered, and it keeps like the colder air off of you for the most part, and it's a little bit more of a pleasant ride on the chilly evenings. So you can see why farmers buy those little like Toyota pickups as farm trucks, because they're low to the ground, they're easy to get in and out of. You can reach everything in the bed. It's like little vehicles like that. And on a farm, if you've got 100 acres, having a small pickup would probably make more sense than even a Gator. But yeah, that kind of stuff is super useful when you've got a lot of space. Yeah. Emily said, what happened to the willow tree in the corner back by the barn where you recently planted the birch? Did you have it removed? I think I just talked about it, didn't I? Yeah, and Ken edited like a montage of them being taken out. So I'll post that video after this. So like, maybe like the day after or something like that. Okay. If I post it the same day, it might screw with the algorithm. Oh, okay. So maybe I'll post it the day after. So we had it scheduled to have it come out, and we thought they were going to come out the next week, but they ended up having an opening in their schedule. So we probably would have tried to film maybe a little bit something more. It was like a really satisfying video though. I just set up one camera. Yeah. It's like just one angle, and it's kind of like watching fire a little bit. It's fun to watch somebody do that. And in that tree's case, I felt like lighting it on fire a few times. Yeah. Because the spider mites, like you cannot get rid of them off of some things. Yeah. Oh. Anyway, I'm glad that tree's gone. I don't say that about a lot of trees, but I'm glad that one's gone. Next video was the stone installation. Stone floor installation in the Hartley, and oh my goodness, do I love that floor. Isn't it pretty? It's really pretty. I am so happy we waited for the stone. You guys, we searched, and I hate to research. You even picked out some stuff. Yeah, I did. I picked out some stuff because I just couldn't find, I had in my mind what I wanted it to look like, and I really wanted it to be a tone of gray, and I needed it to not be super dark because we have such bad hard water. But I wanted it to look old world. I wanted it to look like it had been there for, like, so there was nothing perfect about it. I didn't want like prefabbed pavers, which is kind of what we had settled on. So happy we didn't go with that. Yeah. Because I love what we ended up with. It's a stone out of Oklahoma. It's like on the Oklahoma Arkansas border. It's called Choctaw Blue, and it's just, most of it was a gray color, and there's a little bit of tan in some of the pieces as well, and I just think it turned out so beautiful. I love it. Chuck said Choctaw refers to an Indian tribe originally from Alabama. They moved to Oklahoma after Andrew Jackson's campaign in 1814. Beautiful floor and great concept and work. You are the envy of every gardener in the world. So pleased with the Hartley so far. Look forward to seeing the whole effect with plants, lights, and of course the chandelier. Very nice overall. Thanks for sharing with the rest of the gardening world who appreciate you and Aaron so very much. That is a really sweet comment. And also, Choctaw is actually part of my lineage. So my great-grandma was quarter Choctaw Indian. What does that make you? Like a 1/32nd. Oh, nice. Right? So great-grandma quarter, grandparents half, no, eighth, going in the wrong direction. My mom 1/16th, and then myself 1/32nd, right? Is that how it works, the breakdown? Not very much. But I think they were known for their gardening kind of prowess. So yeah, which is, there you go. So anyway, that was kind of interesting when Julie told me the name of the stone. I'm like, it's my stone. Destiny. Yeah. Yes, this is for me. Angie said, how will you handle the hard water stains on the stone?
I went with a lighter stone. You know, it would be beautiful to do something dark and rich in there, but it just doesn't work that way for us here. Now that greenhouse in particular, I am not going to be treating it like a production greenhouse that's one of the reasons. If I treated it like seed starting and everything like we're using this greenhouse, I can see it right through the windows in front of me, we would have a mess everywhere, and this structure is like too nice for that. Like I want to do my potting over here, make the mess here, and then put the beautifully potted things inside the Hartley. So I'm not planning on like hose watering in there. I'm going to be using watering cans. I mean, never say never. We will have a sink in there, so I might even get one of those like sink hose attachments.
Oh yeah.
Just to water things quick and then just wheel it up and put it away. I want it to be more of a spot for tropicals, and I've got a few things already to put in there. Winter over a few things, maybe like some palms and bird of paradise, things like that. But I also want to I've got some furniture ordered, some chairs and a table, and I want it to be a little bit of an like hangout spot. Like we can entertain, our family can hang out in there, just an extension of the house a little bit. So we'll just see how it evolves. Maria said, does that one orangey colored stone not jar anyone else? It's quite noticeable, seems out of place. So Hartley will be a touchstone of joy. You know, I kind of love it. I kind of love it because it makes it look like it wasn't.
Well, it's from the same quarry. It was the same. It's just, you know, it's real.
Just, yeah. There's not perfection in natural, I guess. Or uniformity, I guess it would be the right word. There's going to be so much stuff in there that you probably won't ever see it after, you know, everything. It's kind of like the chandelier that we put in there. I posted a picture of the chandelier, a few pictures, and I had bought that chandelier before the Hartley was constructed, and I completely underestimated the size. And when I bought it, I was like, dang, like, this is a big light fixture. This is going to be perfect, and I need one like twice the size. But I'm going to leave it up for now because at least it's light and it's beautiful. I love the style of it. Until we find something else that'll work, that will be perfect. But a lot of you guys were saying when I posted that picture, like, wait till you get stuff in there because it might look small just because it's the only thing you can see in there. And I think it's the same of that stone. You won't. There's going to be actually a table and chairs on that side. You probably, and a bunch of potted, I actually bought a couple of palms I want to put in there and a couple of the corners. And
well, the mini split unit is right in front of it as well.
Yeah, you'll see the mini split over that stone. Trust me. Also, it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. That little
mini split?
Yeah, it's a lot more sleek.
Yeah.
It is white. We can paint it. We'll show you. But anyway, Cindy said, awesome update. Will you put a little fridge in that custom counter and cabinetry space? I'm not sure. It's pretty close to our house, so I don't know how necessary it will be, but we've talked about it. The counter we're putting in, we're going to start at normal counter height, just for, like, it obviously won't be this tall, but it'll be normal. What is normal countertop height?
36 inches.
36 inches, which will come up above the brick. It might be fine because once we get plants on it and around it, we might not even notice, and it'll be comfortable to work at. If it seems odd or out of place, we can have the legs cut and have the whole thing moved down a bit, which if we had it match the brick, which is what we were going to do in the beginning, like I would be bending way over to do anything in that sink. I mean, it was like 24. It was like a foot off.
Well, I think it'd be like 6 inches. I think it's 6 inches.
Just 6
so it's
inches.
30 inches or so. So if we did it at that height, it'd be 6 inches lower.
Oh, it was 24 was the depth of the counter, not the height. Anyway, so it's kind of nice that we can adapt it however we need to as we go along. And that's kind of why, while things are moving a little bit slow, because we haven't really, this is a first for us. It's a first for me, and I really want it to work out really well. And so I don't want to rush in and make decisions and do things
Well, there's really
wrong.
no hurry.
Really, there's not. Well, my furniture won't even, the chairs are arriving in June and the table won't be here till sometime in July. That's how it's going with furniture ordering at the moment, I think, kind of overall. And that's totally fine. We'll just throw some other chairs in there for now, probably, or not, and just wait until we have the stuff that we want.
We have a lot of
in
work
there.
to do around it as well on the outside. So there's plenty to do.
Got the plants, a good portion of the plants today, this morning. We unloaded a truck this morning. I was so excited. Lindy said, how do you plan to water your plants in the Hartley? Do they make a mini hose link you can, a mini hose link.
Yeah.
We should ask them. Wouldn't that be awesome?
Well, they do have a 50-footer instead of 82, which I'm sure is a smaller housing.
Be kind of cool to have one like hidden under the cabinet. I could just pull right on out.
Yeah.
That'd be nice. Anyway, yeah, so I think I just mentioned maybe a sink attachment or watering cans or possibly
A mini hose link.
A mini hose link. H. Sal said, why not go all the way around the outside with the stone instead of just the entry? It really looks beautiful. Few reasons. Cost, 1. 2, we're not sure where everything is going to start and stop. I know what the order of plants I'm going to be putting around there, but as far as like the grass area kind of around and in front, I'm not sure how I want to shape that yet. And I want to keep everything pretty flexible, especially in the beginning.
Well, so we had talked about this. Cost was one thing, but also we can add the stone later. Yes. We should be able to get more of the stone if we want to. And there is kind of the outside versus the inside. So if it's like slightly different color, you wouldn't really notice it because it's, again, outside versus inside. So it's easier to just put gravel around there now. And if we change our mind in the future, it's a really easy thing to change.
Yeah. We were just kind of like adding up all of the square footage all the way around, and we were like, ooh, let's just do the inside for now. Yeah. But I've got some really fun ideas. I hope it's going to work. From brick patio to Hartley area.
Oh, doing your step? Mm-hmm. Well, we'll see.
We'll see what happens. Going Green Mom said, will the counters be taller than the brick when it goes in? I keep like answering questions before I ask them. It will be in the beginning, and then we'll see how it looks, how it works. It's going to be a beautiful counter. The legs and the top are gorgeous. This thing's even gorgeous. So we'll just see. Maybe it'll be beautiful enough that we won't even care, but maybe we will want to lower it. Also, the bricks are, this deep. I told Erin I could just line up a bunch of like terracotta pots on that brick with geraniums or little topiaries or whatever, just to kind of like distract your eye from seeing the top of the counter. That is a possibility too. Next video is planting more blackberries, prepping potatoes, and planting lilacs. So the 4 Primark 45 blackberries that I tried to winter over behind the greenhouse in containers did not winter over. I was just trying to give them a chance. They had some flecks in their branches still. They had green in like the cambium layer. So I thought that maybe they might pull through, and they just never did. So we popped those out and put in some other varieties. And then we also dug some fall golds. So the raspberries are already suckering outside of their beds. I don't know, Erin. I wonder if we should bury some kind of like bamboo guard or something.
Sure.
I mean, because it'll be, I want the fall golds to do it, because I will dig up and replant those until that bed is full. That might be the way I just get that done. But once we have them filled, I don't really want to have to be weeding, because they're so thorny. I don't want to have to be weeding little babies out from all the way around.
Well, did they come up from underneath, or do they go over the side?
No, they come up from underneath. So what we would need to do is just even on the outside of the bed, we just need to, just dig a trench, put the...
How deep?
I don't know if you can get, I mean, we'd probably need to go...
What?
That maybe be a little overreaction. I don't know how, raspberries are pretty aggressive, but I don't know if they go down that far to come back up.
Well, even, like if you could get some like steel plate that you could just hammer in.
Yeah.
Do you think you could do that?
I like that idea.
Because if you could, that'd be so much easier just to get like a real thin steel plate.
Yeah.
And we could probably have it, what's that called? Manufactured? No.
Fabricated.
It's fabricated to the dimensions we need.
Yeah.
And you could probably just lay it out.
Yes. You should call Treasure Valley Steel.
Okay.
Today.
Today.
Okay, so, and then I planted lilacs. No, then I prepped potatoes next. Boy, I had a lot in that video, I think. I cut all the potatoes in preparation for planting the next day, and then I planted 3 Tiny Dancer lilacs, which are really beautiful. I love where they ended up. We were gonna plant an evergreen over in the same area, and that didn't work out because we found the storm sewer. Exactly where I wanted to plant that evergreen.
Well, and it's not just a storm sewer, it's like a storm sewer size, but then there's like a bunch of concrete.
There's like
around
a concrete apron or bib or whatever,
but
all the way around.
It's not even like an equal size. It's kind of like long on one side, and so yeah.
So anyway, that was out. Gotta find a new spot for that. Mello said it was nice to see the inside of the flower shed, but I'm sure I'm not the only one thinking that orchard area is looking fluffy. We never got a spring bloom update. No, you didn't. The bulbs.
You tried.
I did. Every time, like when I stood out there, I thought it looked really pretty and sweet with all the bulbs, and they all came up and bloomed, not all at the same time. There was like a moment there where they were all kind of in beautiful bloom, but they were all really super duper short. Like the daffodils were blooming right up above the soil, like soil's here and there's the daffodil bloom. We had a pretty dry winter and it was fairly mild. Both of those things could have factored in. Once we started getting some spring moisture, they started to grow a little bit taller. So there was really never a good opportunity to show it. Also, I really, the soil in there, I think that's what made it look extra bad, because the soil just looks like a cracked Sahara desert, even though there's moisture underneath. The top layer just, I probably have pictures. I tried so hard to take pictures of it. I shared one, I think, of some of the bulbs in there. And now we've got some purple mustard growing up in there, and it's blooming and it looks really pretty. That's what's looking so fluffy. So that kind of took over.
Here's what we need to do is just like wait a year. We need to level out the area with some new...
what in the world was that?
Like a bird maybe?
Hit the back of the barn?
Maybe something fell.
Dang.
Here's what we need to do. We need to wait a year, level out the area with some new topsoil, have Benny come in and put the sprinklers where you want them to be underneath the orchard. And then next year, I think everything will come up just fine the way you want it.
Yeah.
And at that point, we'll have that like meadowy grass that you're after.
So as soon as, I think Benny and his guys were supposed to be here today to finish the water on the Hartley. I don't know with the weather.
With the rain that they'll
if they'll do it. But it should be done by the end of the week. He said as soon as that was done, they were going to do the trenching for the water in the orchard, which will be super nice. Really going to be excited to have that done. As soon as that's done and the bulbs have died back, we'll probably take care of some of the weeds. I don't mind some of them, like the purple mustard is like, I actually like the way it smells and the way it looks. But I want to clear some of that out once the top foliage of the bulbs is, you know, have died back, so that I can get rid of that and kind of expose more of the soil. And then I can seed the grass once we have consistent moisture in there. It would have been perfect to do it 3 weeks ago. We'd have like a beautiful green in there. Anyway, and then this fall I'm going to plant some taller bulbs too, and we'll mow the grass down short right before winter, so that next spring when those shorter bulbs come back up, we'll be able to see them above the grass, and then the grass will start to grow, and then the taller daffs will take over and start to bloom. So we have an idea of how it's going to go. It didn't quite, I kind of got the cart before the horse, just a tad out there, but it was fun. Yeah. Benjamin likes walking around out there in the flowers. Connor said, do you plant any sweet potatoes? Wasn't sure if they were any different for growing. They are a bit different. We usually plant them by slips instead of like chunks of potatoes. And I did plant them last year. I got like 30 some pounds from one plant. Do you remember that? Like that one sweet potato was a massive. Amazing. Yeah, it grew. I planted them in the backside of one of our raspberry beds because it was just open, because I couldn't find the raspberries I wanted to put in there. And yeah, they vine everywhere. You do have to have ample space. I mean, you could plant them at the bottom of a fence and have the vines grow up the fence or whatever if you wanted to grow them a little bit more vertically, and then all the action, of course, happens underneath the soil in terms of sweet potatoes. But they're just like the ornamental sweet potato vines that we put in containers. Like they're fairly aggressive and fast. Royal Colors Co. said, Laura, why do you hate red flowers? I don't hate red flowers. They just don't go with the color palette that I prefer. I like soft kind of pastel-y colors, pink, purple, peach, soft yellow, white. Those are my preferred colors. When you put a red or like a hot orange in there, it's jarring. It just doesn't go. And you know, we could create a pocket somewhere of like more intense colors. And then that would work, but when you try to mix it in with everything that I've currently got going on, it just doesn't jive quite as well. So it's not that I don't like them, they just don't fit quite as well. Justicia said, why is there an alley way behind your fence, 12 feet between your fence and the neighbor's fence?
That's the path getting to the irrigation for the subdivision.
Oh, yeah, that's like an easement. So the homes that are like right behind that actually own that part of the road that's part of their property, but the subdivision has an easement that leads to their little pump house, which is like right in front of our greenhouse, kind of on the other side of the fence, because their irrigation runs off of one well. It's like a joint irrigation well for their outside stuff. NH Mountain Woman said, what is the difference between getting potatoes at the grocery store to plant versus from the garden center? Certified seed potatoes haven't been treated with anything. Sometimes, and I don't know if this is true of every crop out there, but sometimes crops are treated with like sprout inhibitors or growth regulators or something like that, to where sometimes they will sprout and start to grow and then they'll just start to brown and kind of die back and not really produce anything. I don't know if that's true of most potatoes that you find at the grocery store, but if you plant certified seed potatoes, then you know for sure you're going to get seed potatoes out of that, or potatoes out of that. Connie said, if you have leftover potatoes from last year that are sprouting, couldn't you plant some of those, or will they not produce the same? They would probably produce the same. Here's the deal with ones that are already sprouting, and they're most likely at this point kind of wrinkly and soft. I wouldn't cut those. I would just plant them whole. I feel a little bit better getting really like fresh ones that are firm. They don't have any kind of like desiccation going on yet. I feel good about cutting those, letting them heal over, and then planting them, as opposed to putting like a soft, wrinkly potato in the soil. We're still eating on the potatoes in our root cellar. Not a lot of them have gotten really soft yet. So we've been like, I'll pan fry some with herbs and salt and pepper and olive oil. I like to roast them. If they're a little bit softer, I'll mash them, and that's how we eat those. So we're still working through them because we won't have potatoes for a while yet. And I still want to eat our potatoes if possible. Next video was planting 256 feet of potatoes. So 240 feet went into the cut flower garden area, and I planted them all in one row because Paul took the tractor and tilled just one pass through the garden right there. How wide is that tiller? Like 4 feet?
72 inches.
Oh, 6 feet? That would make a lot more sense.
Yeah, does that sound right?
I think so, because
that's too long. It's not 72. It would be less than that.
It's not 4 though, because I wouldn't plant 4 rows of potatoes in just 4 feet.
It's just like barely wider than the wheels of the tractor, and I don't know what the tractor is.
More than 4 feet, but not quite 6, maybe 5.
Yeah.
Right around in there. Anyway, I did 4 rows of potatoes all in that same tilled area. They're spaced like anywhere between 12 and 18 inches apart, the rows are, and then I space the potatoes every 12 inches. So we'll see how they do. Usually when I plant them like that, like last year I did 3 rows together. 3 rows or 2? I think it did 3. Went really well. But I think this year is going to be better because by tilling up that whole space, it gives those tubers a lot of elbow room to grow. Last year I just used an auger and just did holes in the ground and popped the potatoes down in, and it's hard pan out there. When you irrigate it, it does soften up quite a bit, but I think having like that fluffy soil bed to begin with will help the plants out. So we'll just see what happens. And then, did I mention already that 16 feet went up into our raised bed garden because I want to show like row crop versus this is how it goes in a raised bed. We'll look at productivity and how much yield we get and so on and so forth. Dee said, thank you for showing every single detail of planting potatoes. Many, many people are gardening food for the first time ever, which I think is correct.
Yeah.
I think the last few years there's been a huge push in food production, like learning how to do those sorts of things, which is, I think it's great.
Yeah.
I think it's a great thing to learn. Kay said, why do you need so many potatoes? We don't. We are going to be giving a lot of them away. In fact, I'm going to store less this year than I have the past couple of years. It's a process to learn how much you'll actually eat throughout the year. And you kind of, sometimes you have to be diligent about it. Like you really have to plan your meals around, okay, we've got potatoes. We've got, this type of whatever in the freezer. What can we use? We've got a jar of this or that. And how can we incorporate that into meal planning? And it's a process to really utilize all of your stuff. So I'm going to store less and probably give a lot more away this year. Dana said, do you ever mound your potatoes as they grow? No, I've done it before. So a lot of people will do a trench 4 to 6 inches deep. They'll put their potato in there and then they'll just barely cover it with soil, start watering it. When they start to see the green growing, they mound over that green, and they kind of keep doing that until the plant's up above like the current soil level or the normal soil level. And then you might even see people mounding them up further, which might help encourage some side growth and maybe a few more potatoes. But I really never saw a huge increase. So I just plant them and just don't mess with that. I can't imagine hilling that many too. That would be a job and a half. I like crops so you can just plant and let them roll. Carol said, can you explain the time calculation for harvest time, i.e. 80 days from when, planting or flowering? So typically when you're putting something underneath the soil surface, be it a seed potato, your maturity time is from when it sprouts. So you've got your like germination time, and then you've got your days to maturity. And it's kind of that way with tomatoes and peppers. You might see a tomato that's a 60-day tomato, like something crazy like that, or maybe it's like an 80 or 100-day. That's usually means from the time you set your transplant out, the time when you put that little plant out in the garden, not from the time you started growing it inside. So there's Here's a little bit of confusion around there. So we'll see our potatoes come up at some point, and then it's usually that many days after it comes up to maturity. Did that make any sense?
Yes.
Did you follow that?
Yes. To a T.
Did you? You're pretty good at pointing out when when I've like really confused, either like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Shay said, do you ever have problems with ants around your potatoes? I'm in zone 8 and we are starting to harvest a few potatoes to eat and my son wants to help, but the ants are just awful. I haven't had any problems with ants around potatoes, like in particular.
Do they eat them? Do ants like create little colonies? Like, do they eat vegetables?
There's sugar in vegetables.
Yeah, huh. Maybe their property is just like on an anthill.
I don't know. Yeah, that's interesting. We don't really have a ton of ants. Like when I ran into the ants in that pot this spring, I was kind of surprised.
Yeah.
Because I don't really see, we had that one little ant pile in our fireplace area between the bricks.
Yeah.
This spring, but it's few and far between around here. We do have one time of the year though where we get the flying ones. You know, they're like a little bit bigger than sugar ants. Mm-hmm. And they get the wings. They're like the males that fly around, and they all cluster. Like, I don't know how they get in our house, but they all cluster on the floor right inside of our great room doors, the double doors that lead out onto the porch, like thick. I remember Benjamin when he was little. I gave him a little cup, and he would go pick up ants, and they're alive, and he would just put them in the cup, just like gather up this big pile of ants from the floor. He thought it was great fun, and I was just like, ew. I mean, bugs don't really gross me out, but when they're in mass like that,
you just vacuum them up.
Yeah, you could do that, or you could set your toddler to it, and it keeps them busy for a long time.
Yeah.
SF said, are you going to do a spring garden tour? Huh. Maybe.
Yes.
At some point, I don't know, whenever it fits in naturally. There's so much.
We should do a tour once Chad gets the trenches filled, and we can kind of like survey the area.
Yeah, because I did show you the trenches. I gave you a tour of that area and what is going on. But yeah, that's a good idea because it'll show kind of the contour and we'll be able to explain kind of what we're going to be going for in that area. So probably soon. And then the last video from this week was planting 2 varieties of birch tree, and they're both really interesting varieties I hadn't seen before, and they both stay really small. And so I thought that you guys would enjoy learning about them. I was excited to get my hands on them. One of them was a Tickle Creek white bark birch, which grows 6x4, has kind of this really elegant weeping habit to it, and a really fine leaf texture and kind of a lighter green, really pretty. And as they age, their bark gets to be that white color and kind of peely. And then we have a Magical Globe birch, which was a grafted on a white Himalayan birch trunk. And you've got your little lollipop on the top. And I love it. I love where both of them ended up out there. That one will grow to be about 3 to 4 feet on the top, the globe part, and it just kind of stays tidy. It's like one of those magical plants that you want to have in your garden. Alyssa said, the trees are very nice, but those grass pathways in the background have me filled with grass envy. So lush and looking absolutely perfect. Beautifully shot video. I think they are looking nice, and I think that's a huge product of the rain, but also you recently fertilized. Yeah. You also did the aerator. Mm-hmm. And what else did you put down? Iron tone?
I put down iron, soil acidifier, and fertilizer, and then I also need to come through and do gypsum. I should have done gypsum earlier. We've got a few bags, so I'll go through those. I also need to spray the weeds out of the grass. That's what I see. When I see the grass, it's green and I like it, but also I need to get out there and spray.
And what are you going to use for that?
Lawn weed brew.
That worked really well for us last year. Kim said, I don't know if you shot this mostly alone or not, but what a lovely video. So many different angles, soft shots, well done. Aaron was with me for this video. We got the good cameras out. A lot of times when I'm vlogging by myself, to use good cameras, I'll do it on a very rare occasion. Will I actually get the big they're heavy.
It's so much work to film and do a project yourself. Yeah, it's too much.
Yeah, so I often will use GoPros just because they're lightweight. I can move them around quickly. I try to get interesting shots, but the quality is nothing like our nice cameras. And yeah, I think maybe a year or two ago, I would have put maybe more effort into, there's just so much to do right now. My list is a mile long, and if I got out nice cameras for every video, you just need to like be with me every single time.
Yeah, easy.
Because the shots were pretty. My favorite was the view kind of looking down when I brought the lollipop in, because you could see the daffodils that are blooming right there, which are the Bella Estrella variety, and it just looks so pretty. The lighting was nice that day. Anyway, you did great, Erin.
Thank you.
Jean said, love the new trees you added. So unusual and pretty. Guess I'm a little greedy though. You gave us just enough a peek at the daffodils and tulips that I was hoping you would give us a drive-by of the others in the south garden. You know, it's really hard to do a spring bulb tour. I notice lately a lot of comments. When are we going to have a spring bulb tour? Ours are so staggered. There's never a time when all of them are just like, and they're very spread out too. So even like in the daffodils, they don't all come up early. We have early, mid, and late season daffs. I mean, I had daffs still blooming in May last year. Like the Dalmasaw right now just started to bloom and we're almost to May now. But a lot of the other ones, like we're working on cutting them back the last few days, or deadheading them rather. And then same with tulips. I have some tulips in the south garden just barely showing color on their buds, while like Gamay blend and the Vidal blend are starting to peter out because they were earlier. So it's really hard to know, like, is there a sweet spot in there where, you know, you can show multiple, because when you do a tour, you kind of want to be able to show multiple things that are looking really nice. And we'll get there one day. I mean, that's what you get when you have a baby garden too, especially in the south garden. I mean, you get 500 tulips and you think this is a ton, because it is. That's a lot of tulips to plant. But you plant them out there and it's like, hello, like, where did all the tulips go? Like that, the space just gobbles stuff up. You have to plant so many for it to make a statement. And we'll get there one day, but it'll take a while. Anyway, so we're just kind of showing you in little pockets as we do videos. Vibo said, not borrowed view, but rather bonus view. You will not be returning it.
Thank you for correcting me.
Lacey said, I'm curious, when the plant is hardy only up to zone 7, what would happen if it's planted in zone 8? I tend to think more about cold hardiness, so get confused when there's a top on the hardiness scale. So is that because it needs a cold winter to do well? Yes. Certain plants need a certain amount of hours of cold in order to be productive, like to spur on bud production or whatever the case may be. So if you have a zone, something like 3 through 7, if you're in an 8, it just doesn't get cold enough for long enough for that plant to do well in your space. So that's what that means. Zachary said, what plant are you looking forward to the most in the Hartley? I would love to see some plumeria, bird of paradise, and rabbitfoot fern. There are so many plants that I would love to put in there. I don't even know. Like, I've got the pineapple plant. I've got a lime tree to put in there. I'll probably be keeping 1 or 2 figs in there. I've got a passion vine in there, ready. It's in here. I'll have it in there. What else do I have? I feel like a lot of the things that are in here could probably move into there. It'll just be a space that evolves. I'm not even sure. I'm just excited about it, period. Andrea said, I love the idea of both of those trees. I like the color and the interest they will provide. I noticed they are staked. How long do you need to keep them staked? So the littler one, the Tickle Creek birch, is pretty fine. Like it's lashed to its own stake that was in the pot, and I'll leave that on this year just to make sure that we maintain like the upward growth on that. And then I may take that stake off and put a taller stake on next year, just depending on how it does. The other one though, the lollipop, we probably need to put a stake on that. Like I'm kind of looking at the wind today thinking, I wonder if it's kind of like, today. It'll probably happen. So we will stake that one most likely because it's got more of a globe for the wind to catch. The other one's so fine, the wind will just go right through it, and I don't think we'll deal with any kind of lean. But the lollipop we'll probably stake for just this year, and then we'll take the stake off, see what happens, and we'll restake things if we notice it's not like rooted well enough yet, or if it's just catching the wind too much, we'll restake. But we address staking a lot during the season. Like you stake like the maple trees on and off all the time. Yeah. Just to do little corrections here and there, and then the wood hardens enough to where you can remove the stake. It's interesting though, if you let it go for more than about 6 months or so, the strap starts to kind of like the tree's gonna grow in over it. Yeah. So I don't like to keep them on for very long. Yeah. It's a good idea to really pay attention to those sorts of things. Timothy said, great video. Question, are you concerned about the windstorms you receive affecting these trees, especially the grafted one? I'm not super worried like about the graft breaking and the top popping off. I'm more worried about a lean, I guess, and I'm not really worried about it. I mean, we'll just stake it up if something happens. Grafts are usually pretty solid. I've never really had any problem with a graft breaking. I've never had that happen before. Frida said, your tree planting videos are just the best. Seeing your vision take shape makes me so excited. It would be a spectacular show in a few years. I know. I can't wait. I cannot wait. I can't wait to even just see the trees leafed out this year, even if they just have grown this much. I think it's going to be so satisfying. Can't wait for what you do next in the lawn. You did mention that you will plant a few shade trees. Looking forward to that. Now that you have to plan the landscape around the Hartley, will you still be doing the shade tree plantings?
Yes.
Yes. You guys should wait for it, because this next week there's something very exciting about to happen. MJ Worcester said, whoa, $600 on the little magical cutie globe. I have no idea where you're looking for this tree, but do not spend $600 on it. I probably spent, it was probably retail $100 at my parents' garden center. So $600, that I read that comment, and somebody else had commented on that and said that they found the same. I'm like, that's too much. A Day in the Garden said, what a lovely serene video today. The trees look perfect in their new homes. Is that the Gator back from being repaired, or is that the one Paul uses? So we just talked about that Gator versus golf cart. Everybody wants to use the Gator, but we do make the golf cart work for a lot of different projects. I do like how fast it goes. So like for the potato project, I wasn't hauling around a ton of weight. What's the weight limit on the back?
100 pounds for the back.
On that little,
so you can't,
it's a
like,
seat tip down.
Yeah, you can't haul mulch bags or, you know, anything heavy.
I had one
bricks.
mulch bag, I think. One mulch bag, a part bag of biotone, and then I had the drips. Oh, you need to show everybody the drip.
Yeah.
The new drip organizational system. You guys are gonna love this. He figured out a new way to organize all of our drip and like pipe, like PVC pipe parts. And I mean, it's intense and it's pretty amazing. So you need to, he's gonna film a video about it. So soon.
Okay.
Anyway, I think that's it. That was the last question. Thank you guys so much for watching the recap video this week. I hope you are having a great day, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.